Hello friends, this is Murtaza and in this video I'm going to explain GST HST to you. As a contractors, self-employed contractors, incorporated, unincorporated, small business, HST is always a question mark. Since you're not accountants, obviously, so there's always questions around GST, HST, what it is, what is this, how it works, why they charge it, why do I have to charge it, how do I have to charge? So many questions around it. Obviously, you're not accountants, you're experts of your own skills. So I'm gonna make it very simple and crisp, enough information for you as contractors, which is definitely gonna help you. So let's begin. So the first thing is we have GST slash HST. All right. Um, what these are the 3 points that I'm gonna cover in this video. What is GST HST? Who should charge GST HST? And how to register for GST HST? And then I'm gonna show a little bit of its application. So the first thing is GST slash HST are consumption based taxes. So GST stands for Goods and Services Tax. When I say consumption based taxation, it means that it is basically geared towards the end consumer of a service or a product. So the government of Canada charges a certain percentage on every sales that is made. Not actually every, because GST or HST are applicable to most of the products and services, but not all. So few of the products and services are basically GST, HST don't apply on them. For example, groceries, you don't pay any HST on or GST on groceries, or residential rentals, or pharmacy, prescriptions or something like that. So there are zero rated supplies and there are exempt supplies, but that's a topic of more of detail for businesses. But since you're contractors, for you GST HST is quite simple as compared to other businesses. So as I said, GST stands for Goods Services Tax, and so basically anybody in Canada, if they purchase something, they might be paying a component of GST or HST to the government. So basically, for example, if you buy something, if you buy gas for, let's say, $10, you're paying $1.30 in Ontario as HST. So that is charged by the government and that goes to the government, right? So for now, this is enough information. I'm going to explain it further as we proceed, right? HST and GST, what's the difference? So since in Canada, the structure of government is that there is a federal government and then there is provincial government. So both of these governments are charging sales tax. The federal government calls it GST, and the provincial governments call it PST, provincial sales tax. And so basically, what happens is that every business has to file 2 types of sales tax returns, one for the federal government and one for the provincial government, right? In the absence of HST. So that's where the HST comes into action. So what is HST? HST is Harmonized Sales Tax. So it kind of harmonizes 2 taxation, the federal government part and the provincial part, into 1 tax return, and then the information goes to the federal government, and then the federal government splits the share between the federal and the provincial government. So it becomes easier for the businesses to handle the sales tax. Rather than filing 2 tax returns, now they have to do 1 tax return, which is HST. So since we are in Toronto, we do taxes for contractors all around Canada, but most of the clients are based in Ontario. So in Ontario, the HST is 13%, right? And in that 13%, 5% is GST and 8% is PST. So this PST goes to the Ontario government. This 5% GST goes to the federal government. Why they charge it? There's there's further information to it, but you can say governments charge this tax to run their current activities. But we can talk about detail later. So that's what it is, right? So now you know what GST and HST is. Essentially the same thing. HST basically takes care of the provincial and the federal sales tax in one return, whereas GST is only the federal government, right? So for example, in Quebec, there's no HST, so over there you have to take care of the GST, also the PST, all right? But in Ontario, you just take care of the HST. And the second thing that you learned is that not every service, every product has the same application of GST, HST. There are, it depends on the product and services that you are selling, what HST or GST rate that applies to you. The second thing is who should charge HST or who should be registered for HST. So the thing over here is, if we talk about the who, the first thing is that if your revenue is going over a $30,000 threshold. So what that means is that if you foresee that your revenue is going to be more than 30,000 in the next month or within the next 90 days or 3 months, then you have to register for HST and start charging HST on your services or your products. Since you're contractors, let's say you're an IT contractor, we work with a lot of IT contractors. So let's say your revenue is going beyond $30,000 in the upcoming period, then you should register for HST and start charging HST to your clients. That means you should start charging HST on your invoice amount. All right, I'll explain that in shortly as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, let's say you have to, your client asks you for HST invoice. So and they say, oh, we only deal with HST registered businesses, right, or contractors. Then what are you gonna do? You're gonna register for HST. There's nothing wrong in that. There's no problem in that. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Okay, just get registered and start charging HST. That's all right. Okay. The third thing is you can voluntarily register for HST. Like if you're a business, if you're self-employed, a contractor, you can get a HST number and start charging your clients HST. And why would you do that voluntarily? The biggest reason is that this will give you the opportunity to claim or recover HST that you are paying on your inputs. So your output is, let's say you're a web developer, your output is you made a website for someone and you're charging for that contract, right? And your input is maybe you hired someone and that person charged you HST. Now you cannot recover the HST that person charged you. You can only recover the HST if you are registered HST. You are HST registered as well. I will explain that a bit later with an example. It's going to be it's very easy to grab that. So these are basically the three things: 30,000. If there is a requirement, if you want to voluntarily do that. There could be other reasons as well, but most of the contractors, this is what applies to you. All right, 30,000 is the most important. All right, now coming to how you can register HST for HST. So it's a very simple process. you can do it online, like CRA website. They have you can apply for HST number online as well. As well as you can make a call to CRA and just tell them that this is my business, this is what I do, and I want to register for HST. They're gonna ask you certain information. Okay, what's your revenue gonna be? You can tell them it's going to be more than 30,000, or I'm doing it voluntarily, whatever the reason is, and also what's the frequency of filing and all that. I'm gonna talk about that. So basically, two ways, and there is a manual way as well, but there's mainly two ways. You can do it online, and you can make a call to CRA and get this thing done instantly. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the most important obligation that after registering for HST is that you have to file HST return. Okay, so this is very important. Now, since you are HST registered, you have to file HST return. And the tip here is, or the point of emphasis over here is that it does not matter if you charged HST to someone or not, or if you have to claim HST or not. It does not matter. If you're registered HST, you have to file HST return. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to get letters from CRA, and this story kind of gets complex, right? So if you are registering for HST, make sure that you file HST return. Also keep in mind that HST return, the frequency depends usually to new contractors or to most of the contractors. I always advise them to do it annually, right? That means that just file one HST return at the end of the year for the whole year, for the fiscal year, right? The second calendar year, actually. And the second thing is that so you can file HST return annually, you can do it quarterly or monthly. Now that depends on certain factors. The most important one is your sales, right? So if as your sales goes beyond certain thresholds, your filing obligation changes. So it comes down from annual to quarterly, or to quarterly to monthly. Now, this done, you know what GST HST is, you know who has to register for HST, and you also know how you can register for HST, what's the process. And the last thing that you know is very important, that you have to file HST return. Now I'm gonna give you a quick simple example. Okay, so this is and I will make another video in which I will explain how the HST actually works for contractors. But in this video, I'm just gonna run a quick example. So for example, you are an IT contractor. Again, you had a contract, or let's say your contract was you're gonna charge the client $1,000, right? So your income is gonna look like this: $1,000 for the contract, right? But now, since you're HST registered, so you have to add 13% to it, which is $130. So the total amount that you're gonna charge to your customer is, or client, is gonna be $1,130. So now the important thing is that this $1,000 is your income. This $130 is the HST that you charge to the client, and your client is gonna write you a check or send a payment of $1,130. The very important thing is that keep in mind, a lot of contractors make this mistake, and they get to learn this the hard way, right? So just keep in mind that this $130 is not your revenue, it's not your income. Okay, so this is actually gonna go to the government. Okay, so this, and I'll explain further, but for now, for the invoice thing, remember this $1,000 is your income, right? This goes to you, but this $130 goes to the government. So you will receive 1,130. Out of that, 1,000 is yours, 130 is for the government. Don't mess up, okay? Because CRA, the government, yeah, they take it very seriously. They take HST very seriously. So you got to take it seriously as well. Now the next thing is, as a business, as a HST registered business, you can recover the HST that you have paid on your supplies, okay? And your supplies could be a product or could be a service. For example, in making this website, you purchased a software or you purchased some hardware, and you paid HST on that. You can recover that. Keep that in mind, okay? You can recover that HST. And so, for example, to make this income $1,000, you had an expense. You just bought a piece of, some computer accessory. I'm just saying, okay? So I'm gonna call it expense. So how would it look like? So it was actually, you paid $113 for that. All right. So you paid $113 for some kind of a computer accessory, right? Now out of this $113, $13 is HST. All right. So this $13, this amount you can recover. Okay. How you gonna recover? Remember, I said you have to send this 130 to the government, right? Now you're able to less $13, $13 out of this 113 and send to the government. How much you're gonna send to the government? You're gonna send $117 to the government. This is what you're gonna remit. All right, so basically you recovered your $13, right? So that is why a lot of businesses voluntarily register for HST, because once they register for HST, they can start recovering their HST inputs. So we call this $13 ITC, input tax credit. You must have heard of it. So this ITC you can claim against the HST that you have to remit to the government. So this is the collected amount, this is the ITC, this is the remittance amount, the amount that you're going to send to the government. Now I think this is enough for overview for contractors like yourself as far as the HST concerns. So this is good information for your level. I know, because we specialize working with contractors. So this is something that you need to know. This is very important. The first thing important is the HST return, that you have to file it. Don't forget it. If you are self-employed, you are not incorporated but HST registered, you have to file it. It doesn't mean if you collected HST or no, you have to file it since you're registered. Second thing, the HST that you're collecting on top of your income or sales is a liability. This amount you have to send to the government, minus any HST that you paid on your expenses. You less that from the amount that you got from your liability, and you pay the net amount to the government within time. Otherwise, there is going to be penalties, there is going to be interest that you have to take care of, and there is going to be like HST audits are, like CRA, as I said, they take HST very seriously. So you got to be on top of HST as well. So I think this is good enough for this video, guys. If you have any questions, any comments, you can share that in the comment box. I will try to respond to that. And like this video if you like the content, and also subscribe to our channel. I'll be talking to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.